Martin Luther King warned of the searing urgency of today and being too late. We're nearly there with climate change. With record heat waves blazing throughout North America, Europe, and Asia, drought, wildfires, crop failures, and starvation in some parts, catastrophic floods elsewhere, and record high global ocean temperatures the previous 6 years in a row, summer 2022 feels like we're going through the gates of hell. This summer's climate crisis may spur nations to act. Despite 30 years of UN climate change conferences, global greenhouse gas emissions continue to climb. In November, 27 Colombian pesos will be placed in Sharm El-Sheikh, Egypt, while the G20 meeting will be in Bali, Indonesia. This may be our final opportunity to address the climate issue. Governments must address 3 problems in November to tackle the climate disaster. First, global emissions reduction promises are inadequate. Reduce global emissions by 50% by 2030 and to zero by 2040 to preserve a livable Earth. As fossil fuel companies urge, we can't just trade carbon certificates or purchase offsets. We need a 50% decrease in real emissions. Collectively, countries are distant from this aim. Current promises, notably those at COP26 in Glasgow last year, put the world on course for a 2.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise, well over the 1.5 degrees safe limit. While 1.5 degrees is no longer attainable, 2 degrees is doable. Every carbon atom we remove from the atmosphere today will help the future. Second, climate accords aren't enforceable. These agreements are basically simply promises with no repercussions. International accords typically fail here. When governments come home, they don't keep their commitments. This is how a 2014 worldwide deal to halve deforestation failed. Indonesia promised in Glasgow last year to halt deforestation by 2030, but reversed this commitment 2 days later. Emissions reduction agreements must be adequate and legally enforceable to succeed. The international community must impose repercussions, fines, and penalties for inadequate obligations. Legally binding, the 1987 Montreal Protocol on Ozone Protection is the most successful environmental pact in history. Climate pledges require a comparable sanctions and penalty system. China, India, Russia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and other refractory countries must decrease emissions 50% by 2030. A vow to attain net zero by 2060 or 2070 is inadequate, and the world community must punish such recklessness. Rich countries fail to contribute local and international money to cut emissions. Rich countries committed to a $100 billion per year Green Climate Fund a decade ago to fund poor nations' climate adaptation and energy transition requirements. Less than 1% has been financed. The world's most polluting countries haven't invested enough in low-carbon energy transitions. President Joe Biden's Build Back Better measure would have been a historic move for the U.S., but Senate Republicans and 2 Democrats blocked it.